Hey, good day to you, or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on what time you are listening to this video. Hope you are having a great day. And we're ready to get back into this book of Exodus, the 17th chapter. And Exodus, as we know, in the Greek tongue means the way out or the going out. The going out of captivity and bondage. In the Hebrew tongue, Exodus is the Elah Shamath, and it means these are the names. It is the book of redemption, hence the work of redemption, which are types given by Yah, the name of the Redeemer. It is a type of the redemption that comes by the Redeemer, Jesus the Christ. Jesus Christ is the way out of captivity, of the Babylon of these end times, that shall cover the earth. Exodus will give us an understanding of the way out of the confusion that exists today in the world. The same thing that happened here in the wilderness will be examples of the way people will be in these end times. And it is a time for us to study. Now, in the prior chapter, we witnessed how God fed the people with quail and manna from heaven. It was not understood by the children of Israel what manna was. And the manna got its name. What is that? They didn't know what that flaky substance was that fell every morning from heaven. But it was there daily for their nourishment, to keep them going on for the entire 40 years. We saw that this manna from heaven was angels' food. And today it is the manna or truth that God will allow to enter into your mind and into your heart. And that manna will keep you going day after day, right through the entire time of the end, through all the lies and deceit that Satan will cover this earth over with. These are the names, the ways, the truth that will set you free from any problems and worry. So I ask a word of wisdom from our Father that He opens ears and eyes this morning. And chapter 17 and verse 1. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin after their journeys, according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. The children of Israel are about to leave the wilderness of sin, or bush, and travel for some distance to the place called Rephidim, or resting place. Now this was a strange place for the entire congregation to camp for the fact that there was no water to drink. God brought the children of Israel to this location, for Moses and the people followed the directions given them by the Lord. Now, the one thing that set this generation of the children of Israel apart from all of the other generations is that they personally witnessed each of the miracles that God did just for them to free them from their bondage. They saw the plagues of Egypt and the parting of the Red Sea. They stood by as Pharaoh's army was right on their tail, and that pillar of fire kept that army at a distance from them. And then say, as God closed the Red Sea and took the lives of Pharaoh's entire army. And today we do not have that advantage. But we take the word, or the words and promises of the Lord, by faith, and His word will see us through. Just as the children of Israel were led through the wilderness of that time. They took the manna that lay out there on the ground and tasted of the goodness of God, and of the flesh of the quail, in places where quail do not abound in such masses. Time after time, God proved Himself to them as He led them in a path to the promised land that He wanted them to take for their protection. Yet each time something went wrong, they blamed God for their discomfort. So now they come to a place where there is no water to drink. This is a prime example of people that just like to complain. And yet, it should help us to know that when you're trying to please God and do things His way, and if you had the faith to believe on Christ, God will see you through those hard times. When it seems that there is no way possible, God will see you through. And those hard times will come from time to time. We've each been through them. Our Heavenly Father will test those that He loves. For those tests prepare you for the different things that we face in our everyday lives. Verse 2, wherefore the people did chide with Moses, and said, give us water, that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, why chide ye with me? Question. Wherefore do ye tempt the Lord? Question. The children of Israel just wouldn't get off Moses' back. For every time something wasn't right, they would come running and complaining to him. They treated Moses like it was his fault when things went wrong. And Moses is telling the children of Israel, and even down to us today, that to complain against one that God has chosen to lead his people is to complain against God himself. And God doesn't like it when you lack the faith to have God lead you in your life and trust in him to clear the way for you. If God gives you a command to go someplace and do something, and things are not the way you expect, just keep still and wait on the Lord. Let him make the way, the provision for you. When God has something for you to do, he'll lead you through his word. And God has given us his word to be an example for us living in these end times. I want to take you to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, verses 11 and 12. It says, "Now all of these things happen unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall." So we see Moses is warning the people that their complaints are not really against me, but they're against God. Notice that when the water wasn't there, they never lifted a finger to help themselves. No, they just sat and they bellyached and complained. And it's no different than those people today. They don't lift a finger to help themselves, but just cry and moan over something that is trivial and won't make a move to better themselves. They complain about trash in the yard, and yet they won't pick it up. They won't go outside and pick up the trash out of the yard, but they'll complain about it. They complain about the government and how the government does things, but yet they won't go and vote. You know the type. They complain about not having money, but yet they won't go out and get a job to have money. How many of y'all know a person or persons, or may even live with a person like this? They'll complain, but do nothing, absolutely nothing to help themselves. You know, you got to help yourself before you can have help. Verse 3, "And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses, and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst?" Question. You talk about trying a person's patience. Here, after God has freed them from their bondage, opened the Red Sea, killed off their enemies, gave them food to eat, and now they're crying out that they want to go back to Egypt. God gave them their freedom. But with that freedom, they just don't know what to do with it. These children of Israel were born in their bondage, and bondage is all that they have known. They sure did not know the ways of providing for themselves. For as slaves, they just did not have to take on responsibility for themselves. They lived in a complete welfare state, and it made them helpless, gutless little crybabies. And sure, they were not stupid, but a lifetime of laziness made them this way. And friends, you make your own troubles that come your way. And most of the time, it is the way by your own choices. You make your own bed, so to speak, that you have put yourself in, at the spot that you're in. And it takes far less effort to do something about your problem than to keep on complaining to someone that could care less about your problem. So here they're complaining to Moses. Verse 4, and Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, what shall I do unto this people? Question. They be almost ready to stone me. And the first time you stir a group of people into a mob, all they can think about is killing the troublemaker. They stoned Stephen, if you remember, when he talked against the Jews' traditions. The Jews are going to stone Paul when he preached the gospel of Christ against their traditions. It is no different today than it was then. We saw on the news today of mob actions taking place in all parts of the world. When the banks closed in Argentina, the mob destroyed buildings and set fires everywhere. Moses knew or knows the trouble that the people are in, for they're setting camp up at Rephidim, a resting place where there's no water. There's nothing new under the sun, friend. For people of every generation like to complain when things don't go well for themselves. A person will go down the aisle, say a few words in the confessional prayer to get saved. And the first thing he or she does or wants to do is save the world, just like they were saved. He goes out into the street to witness, and the first time he is scoffed at, he wants to run for cover.